Hi, my name's Alan Sanders, and I'm the organist here at Maples. Today is December 8th, and we're going to be learning about the Advent hymn, Lo, How a Rose Ere Blooming. Lo, How a Rose Ere Blooming is a familiar and beloved Advent hymn. The hymn's origins may be traced back to the late 16th century in a manuscript found in St. Alban's Carthusian Monastery in Trier. In the original German, Es ist ein Ross entsprungen. The original stanzas sources list at least 19 and as many as 23 focused on the events of Luke 1, 2, and Matthew 2. The origin of the image of the rose has been open to much speculation. For example, an apocryphal legend has it that on Christmas Eve, a monk in Trier found a blooming rose while walking in the woods, and then placed the rose in a vase on an altar to the Virgin Mary. Some Catholic sources claim that the focus of the hymn was originally upon Mary, who is compared to the symbol of the mystical rose in Song of Solomon 2:1, I am the rose of Sharon and the lily of the valleys. It has been suggested that at a later date, Protestants took the hymn, altering its focus from Mary to Jesus, citing Isaiah 11:1, and there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of its roots. Some controversy arose as to the original German word in the first line of the stanza 1. Was it rose or rice, which means branch? A third passage from Isaiah 35:1 suggests a stronger biblical basis for the image. The wilderness and the solitary place shall be glad for them, and the desert shall rejoice, and the blossom as the rose. The image of the rose has had amazing resilience over the centuries. I have an icon that I purchased in a desert monastery in Greece some years ago. Anna, the mother of Mary, is dressed in green, and as the larger figure, her daughter Mary is seated in front of her in red. At first it appears that the figure of Jesus, so common with images of Mary, is not present. Then upon closer examination, one notices that Mary is holding a flower, Isaiah's promise fulfilled. Theodore Baker provided the most commonly sung translation of the stanzas 1 and 2 in 1894. Born in New York and educated in Leipzig, he is remembered primarily for his monumental biographical dictionary of musicians, the first edition appearing in 1900 and subsequent editions continuing to the present. The third stanza and the United Methodist hymnal is a slightly adapted version of the stanza written in Germany by Friedrich Leiritz and translated by Harriet Reynolds Krall in 1875. Leiritz's final stanza expands the metaphor of the rose image, adding fragrance. The author would appear at first to mix his metaphors, but he then petitions the flower to dispel in glorious splendor the darkness everywhere. Of course, there is no ordinary flower, and it represents Christ and the light of the world. The hymn ends with an allusion to the Nicene Creed. True man, yet very God, and petitions the flower to, from sin and death now save us, and share our very load. Catherine Winkworth, the famous 19th century translator of German hymns, offers another beautiful version of the first two stanzas from the German. It is interesting to compare her version to stanza 1 with the stanza we commonly sing. A spotless rose is growing, sprung from a tender root, of ancient seers foreshowing, of Jesse promised fruit. Its fairest bud unfolds the light amid the cold, cold winter, and in the dark midnight. The famous composer Michael Praetorius helped the popularity of this tune immensely by harmonizing it in his collection Zion's music in 1609. His harmonization of the German tune or adaptations of it may be found in most hymnals.